Today we're going to be doing, let me make sure I'm actually live. Sometimes this has a little bit of a delay. All right, looks like we're actually live, yes. It's telling me, still waiting for it to show up. All right, we are live. So today we're gonna be doing an upper body resistance band workout. So we're gonna be using a set of 2 bands to do upper body, working the chest, back, and then we'll focus in on some of the muscles of the arms and shoulder as well. So if that sounds good, hit that like button for me to let me know you want more content like this where we work out together working upper body. So for this, I'm gonna start by warming up. So I'm using a little bit lighter of a band, then we'll move to a heavier band as we go. If you don't know what band is going to be correct for you, start with a lighter band and then just work up till you, start with a lighter band and then repeat the sets with a heavier and heavier band till you find the band that challenges that muscle. We're gonna start with a chest press. So this is gonna be working the muscles in your chest and the back of your arm in your tricep. For this, I'm actually gonna hook both ends of the band to one handle. We're gonna do a one hand at a time on this one. So what I'm gonna do is step forward until I feel that band pulling me back. I want this right at chest height, so right about the nipple line, because I want this to be pulling straight back. I don't want this angling up or down. And I want to keep my chest up. I don't want to collapse down. So from here, I'm gonna push out towards the front, just like I'm punching out in front of me. So I'm keeping that chest up, be kind of an odd punch position. It's very much the Superman punch, but doing 10 reps each side. You should feel this, getting some blood flow into that chest muscle. I'm trying to go all the way back and all the way forward. Now, I'm not trying to really challenge the muscle yet. I'm just trying to get some blood flow into that muscle to get it primed and ready to go for our workout. This is also a great time to realize if you're still sore from your last workout or not, because it will show up in your warm up. So maybe the muscle feels fine just at rest, but you go to start working out and you feel like, oh man, that hurts a little bit, or that's a little tender still. That can be a good sign you need to take more recovery time. So maybe you get more sleep, work on things, or to improve your recovery, like improve your sleep, improve the protein amount you have. Sometimes having too little protein, that's a big thing that happened to me, is I in the past wouldn't eat enough protein and I would get more sore. So a warm up is a great time to realize or to figure out if you've recovered from your last workout. And if you haven't yet, it sometimes can be a good sign you need to take an extra day between workouts and then come back again stronger the next time. So maybe you skip that particular muscle that day. So now what we're gonna do is a row. We're gonna pair a pushing exercise with a pulling exercise. So we're working the muscles in the upper back, as well as behind the shoulder blade and some in the bicep as well. So for this, I'm going to step to where my hand is pulling out towards the front all the way, and I'm gonna pull back to my rib cage. So I'm letting it come all the way back to the front. So I'm not coming halfway, I'm coming all the way forward, pulling back into a row. Really trying to bring that hand to my rib cage. I like these because I can eliminate my low back as a limiter. With the bands, you can actually do this standing, or you could also do this with the cable up, but bands are a lot less expensive. So I really can feel my lats engage and I don't have to worry about my low back. That's something it's always distracting to me. Sometimes when I'm doing bent over rows. or that can be very distracting of what's going on with my low back, to make sure I'm not hurting that low back or tweaking that low back by rounding it. I'm trying to keep my chest pointed straight towards the post, pulling back to my rib cage. So these 2 exercises cover a variety of muscles, doing the chest, the back of the arm, as well as the upper back and in between the shoulder blades with the bicep. So now we're going to go to a heavier band. The first set was a warm-up. This is where I start counting working sets. And we're aiming for multiple sets with this exercise, because multiple sets is where we increase the amount of muscle gain we get from each workout. So I'm going to start counting sets at this point. So I'm stepping forward till I feel that band pulling my chest muscle. Should feel that tension back here. And I'm pushing towards the front. Now, if you feel like the band's pulling you over, you can take a step forward. Might need to adjust the band down just a little bit. And push out towards the front. And 13. Same thing on the other side. Just thinking about something. Just had an idea. I'm going to try it after this set. The one limiter on the bands is they pull you backwards. So we're going to try something a little different. So, let's see if I can get the bench in here. So I'm gonna get the bench right up against the post. Put this all the way up. See how that is. Might be a little bit too far away. We're trying something new, so give me a second. And the one thing I want to be careful of is that I don't overstretch the band by doing this. Yeah, that's gonna overstretch. All right, we're trying to get the bench to provide a little bit of support, but I don't think that's gonna work for this. Sometimes you have to play around with an exercise and see what's gonna work, what's not. What we could do is do this seated though. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna try this seated so the band isn't pulling us over nearly as much. We have a much firmer base. So we just did pushing, now we're gonna do some pulling. So having a seat, try and do this where you can actually see me. And my back's not turned to the, so laying the band, pull forward, and then pulling to your rib cage. Let's try this a little bit different. Let's go like this. As we were talking here, just thinking, why am I doing these standing up? That's a lot harder because I have to stabilize and I'm not thinking about what I'm doing with my shoulders. I'm thinking about my torso and not leaning forward too much. So I'm just gonna do these seated where I'm still getting that shoulder workout, but I'm not having to worry about being pulled over by the band. So pulling to my rib cage, yeah, that feels a lot better. Just like a cable machine where you can even put your feet on the bench to support. So doing this seated is a lot better. I should feel that in my shoulder, right in here. I'm laying in my upper back. I need to scoot back just a little bit. I'm losing tension in the band. And 13. Yeah, I like that a lot better. So doing this seated with a resistance band, definitely the way to go. And then I can just turn around, start right back in to bench press. Or not bench press, but chest press. So going here, lining up right here with my chest, and then pushing out towards the front. So I should feel that in my chest and the back of my arm. $13. Now, something I want to make sure of is I don't twist towards that side. I want to keep that tension in my chest the whole time. So I'm trying to keep my chest pointed straight towards the front. I'm twisting a little bit, I can feel it. So we're not gonna count that one. There we go. Right. Now it's important on this, you don't want the band to be slack at the beginning of the movement. So you want to lean back or move back in the seat to where you feel that band pulling you forward all the way through the movement. And from here, drawing your hand back to your rib cage, engaging the muscles in your upper back. Now, if you want to, you can twist a little bit away so that you're having to pull a little across your body. And that's gonna have more of a stretch in those lat muscles. So if I'm turned like this, it's less of a stretch, a little bit more internally rotated, or not internally rotated, but towards that side, causes more of that stretch across this. And that will get you more tension in that muscle. I'm trying to pull this to my rib cage. And 13. On all these, I'm trying to go until I feel challenged in that muscle. So pushing out towards the front, doing a chest press. I should feel that pec tensing up underneath. And same thing on the other side. So our goal here is to build healthy, strong muscles. I like bands because they change up how the muscle has to work. They have been shown to be effective to build muscle and to build muscle strength, as long as you are still challenging the muscle. So a lot of people look at bands and they treat them differently than they do other types of resistance. And that's why they don't grow. And that's why they don't get stronger. Because they're not challenging their muscle to grow. So if you treat bands like they're easy, you won't grow the same. If you are not challenging the muscle and putting it under load. So you want to make it challenging. Pick a band that's heavy enough and really put tension through that muscle. So it should feel tiring by the end of this. If it's not tiring, you want to go to a heavier band. I'm letting my shoulder go all the way back up forward and then drawing it down to where I'm really stretching those lats, which are the muscle right back up in here. And relax. Man, was that the third set? I think that was the third set. Losing track a little bit. So we're starting out with compound movements where we're working multiple muscles at the same time, and we're going to be moving to more isolation movements of the tricep and bicep after this. I'm letting my hand go all the way back to where I get that stretch in the pec. Try and keep my hand in line with my elbow the whole time. Twelve, 13. Okay, so I'm pulling till I feel that tension pulling me back in the band. I want that all the way, but when my hand is in line with my chest, the band is already putting the tension on it. So I'm twisting just a little bit till I feel that tension pull me back. And that's where I know I'm getting full range of motion tension. Ah. Twelve. 13. Oh, that's harder on my left side. As you go heavier and heavier into the bands, I think having a seated position, doing this where you're pushing out towards the front seated, I think that's more effective because you're more stable. So especially as the bands get heavier, you need more of that stability so the band doesn't pull you over. So going into a row now, we just worked the front, now we're working the back. Trying to go all the way back to the front. 12 and 13. A lot of people think that the concentric, that pulling part, is the most important, but really it's the eccentric lengthening of the muscle that's the most important part of this. Based on what we currently understand, that's what it seems like is the most muscle building. So going into that eccentric lengthening of the muscle. The concentric is shortening the muscle, eccentric is lengthening the muscle. So we want to really make sure we're getting the full length of that muscle to maximize the muscle building of each rep. $13. Oh, my arms are getting tired. That's good though. That means I'm challenging the muscle. If you're not feeling tired by the end of the workout or partway through the workout, you probably want to be trying to work a little harder. So it's really important to challenge the muscle to do what's called progressive overload. And now what that means is that we're always going up to near the muscle's limit. So if you're doing let's say you're doing an exercise like a bicep curl, doing it without any weight like this is not progressively overloading it. You could probably do this 100 times and it wouldn't feel tired. But if you were to put something in your hand that's a weight, suddenly you could get tired after doing it just 10 times. That's progressive overload, where we're challenging the muscle. You want to be lifting with enough resistance where the muscle feels challenged, feels that fatigue. And that's what's going to stimulate the muscle to grow. So progressive overload is you're gradually increasing that resistance, whether it's weights, body weight, bands, cables, whatever you're working with, to then challenge the muscle little by little and cause that to grow. So on anything we do, we want to pick a weight or a band that's going to be challenging that muscle. So I should feel tired by the end of this. Now the exact number of reps vary from exercise to exercise. With this one, I like to shoot for about 10 reps because it's a very large muscle. A lot of the types of muscle fiber in the pecs can handle this sort of rep load. Now, if I was doing a muscle like the rotator cuff in the back here, I'd probably choose a lighter weight and higher reps doing the stabilizing muscles. But with the pecs, usually I like to shoot for about somewhere between 10 and 15 reps. So right now I'm aiming for about 13, which I find is about right for this band weight. Whoa. Getting pulled over a little bit. There we go. I find on my left side, this muscle in here is pretty tight, so it stops these abs from being able to twist as much, because these actually this muscle attaches in to the connective tissue of the abdominals. So it's kind of unusual, where my left side definitely is my weaker side. I have to work on that. What I'm doing is actually stretching these muscles because they're so tight in here that they're actually limiting my abdominals. So that's something I've been doing this week, especially, is doing multiple sets of flexibility. It's interesting, you don't realize sometimes what's happening down here affects all the way up to your shoulder, because as I'm doing these, my whole body is turning because my abs can't engage as much to stop that twist. So it's a little bit nerdy, but the biomechanics of it, I know I need to work on some things in my legs to help my shoulders work, to build that core stability. Okay. So we're gonna do one more set of rows and then we'll move to some arm exercises. So these are working arm and shoulder. Now after we're gonna move to some more pure shoulder or pure arm exercises. Excuse me. One more. Pulling to the back. Letting it go all the way back to the front in that eccentric lengthening, and pull back to your rib cage. I'm letting it pull sort of across my body a little bit to really stretch that muscle. I think that was 11, 12, and last one, 13. All right, set those down for a second. So if you're just joining us, we're working arms and shoulders, doing upper body exercises today with resistance bands. So with all these, we're picking a band that is challenging to the muscle. A lot of people do bands where they pick light bands or too light to where it's not challenging that muscle, where they don't feel tired by the end. And the whole goal with exercise is to grow that muscle, to strengthen it. So to do that, we need to pick a band that's challenging enough. So for this, I'm gonna try the black band. I know it's hard to see the black on my black shirt, but so I'm gonna double loop it with 2 carabiners on 1 hook. And I'm gonna step right in the middle of that band. So we're gonna work the bicep. So I should feel that tension pulling me down even when my arm is almost completely straight. So I'm standing straight and tall, and then from here, I'm gonna pull up to the front. You can see that band is really getting very tight. So I'm putting a lot of tension through that bicep. I can even lean back a little bit to add to that tension. You should really feel that almost pulling your bicep apart as you do this, and having to tense up in that arm. "12 and 13. It's important to go almost completely back to straight. You don't have to completely lock the elbow, but pretty close to really let that bicep fully lengthen across. It goes across from your shoulder down to the inside of your elbow. So we're actually letting it lengthen through that whole section. And then same thing on the other side. Trying to go out towards the front with my hand. So I'm not going down, I'm going out. Should feel that right in here. 12 and 13. Now, something you don't want to do is twist your hand, because that's going to change what muscles are taking over. We'll get more of that muscle down in here, that brachioradialis. We want this muscle in the upper arm, that biceps brachii. And so to do that, we want the hand flat. If it twists, it's more that forearm muscle down in here. If we get it flat, it's more this muscle up in here. That'd be more like a hammer curl. It's not a bad exercise, it's just not what we're going for. To do a hammer curl, you do it thumb up like this. And it's a lot easier to do. You can handle a lot more weight doing that. But we want to really challenge to get big arms, to have healthy biceps. So you want to have hands flat for that. Actually, I'm going to leave that band on, and then we're going to work the triceps in the back of the arm. So for this, I'm going to just attach 1 carabiner, and I'm going to step on the band. Now, the taller you are, the closer to this end you're going to need to step. So if you're really tall, step right next to the carabiner. If you are not needing the full length of this band, I'll just say it that way, step a little bit closer to this end over here. So you can choke up on the band to give yourself enough where you have tension when your hand is up here by your shoulder. So the taller you are, closer to the end to give yourself more slack. You should feel that pulling you down when your hand is up here behind your neck. So for this, I'm gonna bring my elbow up high. I should feel that band pulling me down. I like to hold on to the fabric part of this rather than the handle. You could do the handle just fine, but for me personally, I would rather grab onto the fabric. I find it's a little more comfortable. From here, I'm gonna straighten my hand up towards the ceiling and then back down behind my head, really feeling that tension across my tricep. Now, if you don't feel that tension, try choking up on the band a little bit so you can feel that pulling you down all the way through this movement. Going up towards the ceiling and back down. Feel that right back here in the back of your elbow. And you want to keep your elbow high. You don't want to let it drop down towards your shoulder. And relax. Same thing on the other side. Try and step on the band the same spot on both sides. So you have even tension between your two sides. Hang on a second. It feels a little bit off. There we go. I'm going until I feel tired in that back of my arm. Oh. So on this one, I'm choosing a heavier band because I'm not doubling up the band. So if you ever need to do a longer band, like what we're doing here, you can just drop the resistance of the band to a lighter color. Now for me, the red one is a heavier band. Depends on your set, you might have to look up what color corresponds with what weight. Now, if you want a set of bands like what I have affiliate links down below that help support the channel, but don't cost you any extra. So if you want to buy through Amazon with the set of bands that I have links down below to help you find those. Now, if you're using your own set, just make sure that the band you're picking is challenging for that exercise. So, I believe these bands, the black one I think is a 10-pound band. Doubled up, it's gonna be a 20-pound band. Lars got it in the description, yes. And that's just if you don't have a set of gear already and are looking for a good set, these I found are really good quality. I've bought other bands that have not been nearly as good, where they are really flimsy and don't provide good resistance. These ones, I want you guys to have quality gear that gets you results. So that's why I give the link to, because I want to make sure people are using their time well. I wouldn't want to do an exercise that I think is not effective, because I wouldn't want to waste people's time. So, and that's what weak bands do. They don't really provide the resistance. And I think that's why some people think bands don't work, is because there's a lot of low quality bands out there. $13. And they're harder to measure too. Would you guys be interested if I was to test these bands out, say, are they actually the resistance that's printed on the label? I was thinking about doing a video about that. Going through, because I can test those against my dumbbells to see if they're actually the exact weight that they say they are. So try and keep the hand flat. Working that bicep. And 13. Yeah, that's true. The tension of the band does change as it ages. Usually when they're newer, the bands have a really good tight resistance, and as they get weaker and weaker, it's sort of like a rubber band. Eventually they start to lose that snap to them. So eventually they do wear out. That is something about the bands. You have to make sure that they're not getting frayed. I've had one where I overstretched and snapped it, but usually with these bands, that's taken a couple years between having to replace them. So they're a pretty good deal. I do have loop bands as well that are basically, I mean, you can see it's basically just a giant rubber band, but these also are, these are a pretty high quality, good set of bands as well. I find they're a little harder to use with some types of exercise. So at the moment, I'm using mostly tube bands. What I was thinking about doing is getting like a pulley system where I'd have a loop, like those big rubber bands in here, and then have a pulley that connects to it so that I could do, you know, almost like cable exercises with resistance bands as the resistance instead. As long as you're challenging within certain reps, I guess the actual resistance is not so relevant unless you want to do a comparison, but that's hard to do with bands in general. Yeah, that's absolutely true. As long as you're challenging with certain rep ranges, that's the important part, absolutely. So what I was thinking about doing for a comparison, not as an exercise video, but as a equipment test video is, let's say this band, I think they say is between 8 and 12 pounds. So that means it should be able to lift a 10-pound dumbbell. So if I was to tie this to a dumbbell that's 10 pounds, if the band can't lift the dumbbell, that means this is not calibrated correctly. So I could go through each individual band and see, is it actually calibrated correctly? Would that be something you'd be interested in? Or is that kind of, don't really care too much? All right, so you'd find that interesting to see. That is good to know. I will keep that in mind. Because I do have people coming in looking for equipment and looking for equipment reviews on things. I have some equipment here and I was thinking about, hey, how could I show to people what quality is there? I feel like that's a really visual way of seeing it. Because I mean, it's one thing to say, oh yeah, I can feel the resistance, which is important, but it's hard to communicate to people what that feels like. It speaks volume about the quality of certain bands if it meets that specification, absolutely. And I have had bands that definitely were not that way. So that's something I have tested a couple of these bands doing that. I could do a full video though of testing all of them. And 13. Oh, and like you said, when these bands get a little older, they get a little less snap to them. My bands, some of them are actually pretty old, or they've got a lot of use on them where I use them every week, working with people, working with clients. And so if my bands still have that calibration and they've been well used, that speaks a lot to the quality of the band, that it's still keeping that resistance all the way through. So. 13. That is one of the advantages of dumbbells over bands though, is bands do eventually wear out. Dumbbells, they're just a piece of steel usually. So sometimes they're steel with rubber over the top of it. So as long as they're calibrated correctly where they're the right weight, which most of them are pretty accurate. So they do have longevity. So that's the advantage of dumbbells if you have a set. I do think they're a great piece of equipment, but they tend to be more expensive. So people starting out, especially if you don't know that for sure that you're going to use them constantly, I would say it's a really expensive piece of equipment. But if you know you have the routine, you've got the habits of working out, that's awesome. And that's where I would actually invest in a set of dumbbells. Because sometimes people get really gung-ho about working out and say, oh, I'm gonna buy this piece of equipment because that will cause me to work out every day. But just because you bought the equipment does not mean you're going to work out with it. And so I've known people that buy exercise bikes and they become very expensive clothes racks. And that's a real shame because it's such a huge amount of money, and I want you guys to be able to use your money in an effective way. That's why I recommend people start with resistance bands, because they're inexpensive, they're great for building the habit, and they're easy to store. But if you've been working out for a while, that's where I'd say investing in a good set of dumbbells gives you other options for exercises as well. I mean, you can see I have a lot of workout equipment that I use here. I have spent quite a bit of money doing that because I use it for my job. But I started with just a set of resistance bands. Actually, more recently with a set of resistance bands. When I was really young, I had a small weight set. But a lot of those pieces of equipment broke since then. Actually, before I got this bench, the last bench I had actually broke when I was bench pressing on it. So the welds of it snapped. And so I was bench pressing, the whole thing collapsed underneath me. Because it was more of a kid or a young adult bench, and it wasn't really built with good quality. That's why I recommend finding good quality equipment to work out with, because you don't want to have that happen. So I really like things that I know are sturdy and built well, where I know it's not going to break. Now, something I know with bands, something I had to learn was not to overstretch them. They're not designed to stretch beyond twice their length. So I wouldn't want this to be stretched all the way out beyond here, where I can, because that's where they can actually snap, because they're not really designed to stretch infinitely. Just like a rubber band, it has some give, but you wouldn't want to go so far out with that stretch that it's gonna snap it. So especially with some exercises, that's why I go for a heavier band and more length. Like for this next exercise, if I was to try and double this up like this and put it over my head, I would actually snap the band. That's actually how I have snapped bands before, is overstretching them where they, cause I'm 6'1", and these bands only stretch so far. So I need to make sure I'm doing a heavier band and stepping on only one side of it to give myself enough length. I should still feel that tension all the way through. So I'm picking a heavy enough band where I feel that tension with my hands all the way back here behind my neck, and then pushing up towards the ceiling. You should feel that right here in that tricep. Excuse me a sec. Now if you're enjoying this workout and want to see more, I host these live streams on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, where we work out together, building muscle, building healthy, strong joints. And because I want people to be able to move and feel good and not, I know for me, if I stop working out, my body starts hurting. My neck hurts, I start getting headaches, my back starts to ache. Back when I was working in marketing and not working out nearly as much as I should have been, I would feel achy all over. And as I've gotten back into working out, those aches and pains go away, where my body's able to move and feel good. So I want that for you guys. I want to be able to have a life of movement and be able to be active and doing things you want to do. So the way we do that is by challenging those muscles, strengthening the joints and the muscles around it to help build strong, healthy bodies. So if that sounds good to you, hit that like button for me. Be here live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. I know that's my goal for working out. What's your guys' goal for working out? I want to look fit as well. I think aesthetics are great, but I think also feeling well is a really big thing as well. So not just looking great, but also feeling great. Feeling that your body's healthy and strong. You're able to do what you want to. And 12, and 13. It's our last set for this exercise. How are we doing for time? Oh man. So we'll finish up with one more tricep exercise. Thirteen. All right. So in all these, I'm trying to do multiple sets to continue to challenge that muscle, to strengthen and build. Hey, great workout, thank you, gotta go, very informative. Hey, I appreciate you being here, good to see you, Lars. So, bringing the hand behind the neck and straightening the hand out towards the ceiling, feeling that tension right here in the tricep. 12, 13. Same thing on the other side. Hang on a second. All right. So if you like this live stream and want to see more, I host them on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time.